Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go three abreast.
It is show time at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You've got a for a breath. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of Outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wing Nation. I'm your host today, Erin Evernham, alongside my good friend, Ashley Stremme from Pennsylvania. How you doing, Ashley?
It's Fair Week here in Pennsylvania, so it's a good week. Looking forward to it.
Did you get some of that church stand food yet?
You know it, absolutely, day one.
That's awesome. But more importantly, joining us on the Zoom line is our good friend, Donny Schatz. Donny, I'd say how your last few weeks have they been, but I think we all know they've been kind of chaotic. I guess summarize just a little bit of what it's been like, new rides. For as long as I've known you, you've either been in your family car or the TSR car. So what has that overall been like to kind of be searching and jumping in different cars?
Well, I think at first it's a little bit of a shock. It was amazing. The minute obviously everybody finds out my phone, I don't know what you'd do without them. I was telling people a couple months ago, I said, wish we could go back to pagers where you get back selectively. That's what I used to do to my parents. So, but in times like this, obviously, man, the telephone has been insane. And the amount of people that have reached out and offered to help in many uh, ways and shapes and forms has been kind of surreal. People I didn't think knew who I was or knew my name or didn't like me or whatever. It's crazy what that's been like, and it's almost puts you feel like you're in between a rock and a hard spot because there's so many people reaching out and try to help. And man, when I offer help to someone, I kind of expect someone to take it, and you can't always take everyone's help. So it's kind of what do you do? Damned if you do, you're damned if you don't sometimes with things. And so it's been a little bit of a challenge, but and you got to kind of break it down. Am I looking at right now today? Am I looking at next year? Am I looking at 5 years down the road? These are all things that you're trying to juggle at the same time, and one really affects the other three things at the same time. So it's been a little bit challenging, and I've not looked. I don't know that I've ever really sat and had to look 5 years down the road because we were, busy racing and things were fine. And so yeah, do you look 5 years down the road? Well, obviously you have to, but in reality, you can't look past 1 or 2 years at the moment. So yeah, it's been a little bit chaotic, but I wasn't raised with someone sitting there patting me on the back constantly. So, challenges just present opportunities, and we're just trying to make the best of it and still trying to put all the pieces together. There's a lot of pieces that people don't understand. My mom has been a huge part well, both my parents have of my career over the years, and the brand that we have built as a family is not just me on the racetrack, it's me off the racetrack, and it's merchandise, and it's the next level with the twins in their racing career. All those things are part of it. It's all part of the brand, and I feel like we've built a brand that no one else has. They followed along suit and tried to equalize it, but she's been a trendsetter with all the merchandise and all the things to try to make it 100% complete, just like it's like a circus act really, but it's on a different level. So those things are quite a challenge as well, and you got to take that into consideration as well. So a lot of moving parts, but I guess when you're surrounded by a great family, it makes it really easy.
Really want to talk about that. Erin and I talked about it before you jumped on, the merchandise side of things. Obviously, the outpouring of support that sprint car fans have, they love their merchandise. What has it been like clearing out the 15 TSR stuff to jumping in the green 15 with Dave Lunster, and then now jumping in your new car? What has it been like for your mom? Turnaround times, getting designs approved, getting stuff shipped to you in the trailer. Can you talk about that a little bit to give fans kind of an insight of what that really takes?
Well, I think the timing of it, obviously coming off the Nationals, we were coming home. And when we come home, it's some of our biggest events of the year fan wise for us. I mean, the longest nights were the last ones to leave. Obviously local fans here support me, always have. So she was obviously loaded for bear. And then obviously here you are. You kind of look at it as well. I guess we're going to eat a lot of things, and it's not been that way at all. It's been crazy. People were, obviously itching to get stuff. Thought this is the last of it. It really is the end of an era. So, it's not been real bad that way, but I think it put her in a stressful position, a position obviously she's never been in either, with what happened. So look, she's one that can, take a bullet and get back up and go at it, and she did, and on to the next thing. And she was kind of pushing me. You got to do something, and obviously that changed that focus. Obviously, that focus was these 7 races up here in the Midwest. So that's really where everything turned, and obviously at the last minute we put the stuff together with Todd and Taylor and Cody over at Big Game Motorsports to do the 7 race thing. And I think we all know that went sideways the first night, got tore up, and so we were ready for that. And then obviously Dave Lunstra was part of that program to begin with, so Dave offered to finish it up, and we did. But I think in the upper Midwest here, fans are pretty supportive of their local guys, and it's been pretty crazy. Even being at Houston's this weekend, even though we got a night rained out, the amount of locals that really support Dave and me both. So it's been pretty wild. I've seen a lot of people that you don't normally see wearing my stuff around the racetrack the last several races, and even other racers and other racers' kids and families. So we've seen a lot of that orange and green the last couple weeks. So it was pretty heartwarming, really.
Yeah, I think I saw a Dobmeyer wearing one of your shirts. I thought that was really neat. Donnie, let's talk about those first 2 rides. You got the big game opportunity with Todd and the gang. I thought that was really neat. You have the current World of Outlaw or reigning World of Outlaw champion, one of the top teams. I mean, that car came together in no time. Suddenly there was photos and helmets, and just talk about how quickly that came about and what it means to you to have such important people in the sport that weren't part of your career before step up and give you chances like that.
Brad Alexander, who I raced with several years ago at TSR, he's kind of stepped away from racing a little bit, still based in Indy doing shocks. And Brad and I have always stayed in touch, and he's helped the twins. We just got our, last couple sets of shocks from him. And so him and I stayed in touch. And in the minute this all happened, he was the first call. Hey man, I'm here to help, whatever I can do. And he was trying to figure out what he can do to help. And there was a few phone calls made. And the next thing you know, he said, hey, Cody Jacobs wants to talk to you. And they think they can run you in a car for these 7 races. One of their cars that they just, timed out leading up to Knoxville. And, they have a motor. Obviously it's depend on not tearing things up and not hurting the motor. So I had talked to Cody and Taylor, and we put this thing all together in a matter of 24 hours. And obviously Cody got Brad and Stephen Ham Riley to come out, and I showed up at their shop down there and put my seat in, and the graphics guy showed up that night at 5 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock we had a car stickered and imaged the way it was. And they don't do anything second rate. Everything they do is top notch, or they're not going to do it. And it was really a top notch opportunity for me. And I knew going in, it was really based on that motor and that car and all that stuff, and not tearing up. And it was going to put them in a bind because we were, we working out of their mule and stuff, which was going to kind of set them back. And I said I didn't want to be, I never wanted to sideline anyone for this, or cause them an issue, because I know what it's like to race for a championship and something tugging on you a certain way. And so pretty grateful for it. It was obviously everything that could have went the wrong way. Really did that first night. But I look back on my 28 years, I've never had anything really go wrong or injury or whatever. So if it's going to the stars are going to line up sometimes, and they've lined up for me the other way too. So you just take it as it comes. And I think we were sitting at the races the other night, and I was talking with Cody, and I said, had we made it through that first night, it was going to make this pretty tough for you guys and your other 2 guys. And he said, yeah, obviously we all had high aspirations and high hopes, but I would never sit here and say that it was for the better, but obviously it happened, and maybe someone else upstairs was looking out for all of us. But really appreciative for the opportunity, but also, Dave Lunstra, he's not one that's wants to go out and do all that racing. He's been local, and TK's drove his car, and obviously he put a second car together for Darren and went to the Nationals and had a good run. So he was willing to, and he was part of it. We were using his truck and trailer for certain events and this and that. So, and obviously Dave and I have been friends, but it allowed him and I to have get to know each other a little bit better. When you race with someone, they do things a certain way. I do things a certain way. So I think after the first night when we were at Jackson, we didn't have, obviously we were 10th, which is, never sat in the car before, and not knowing we felt like we had a pretty decent night. We qualified well. So I think we looked at everybody and said, well, we all had fun tonight. And that was something that, ultimately this is what it's all about, is the fun, because none of this makes sense on paper, not for any car owner there is. So we literally went through the whole time. And every night we walked out of the racetrack feeling the same way. Like we had a good time, and it's almost like it's kind of sadness to see it end, but obviously life goes on, and we're going west, and it's not in the cards for Dave Lunstra, because he's a farmer, and it's time to get in the fields and do the things that pay the bills on his race car. And I respect that, even though there was lots of people stepping up willing to try to keep it going. Financially, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's time to I had to pack my bag again, drag my seat again, and move on to the next thing.
Which brings me to my next question, because I love more than anything the last few rides that you talk about, and now the new announcement, teaming up with Kevin Kozlowski with Works Unlimited and Paul Silva. You shared in one of your other interviews that it all became possible because of Sam at JVI. Talk about that. And it's not you cold calling, and the phone calls that you're getting, people are going to work for you. And I think that speaks volumes of who you are as a racer and a person.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of people that have gotten to know me over the years, and they've admitted, hey, maybe we judged a book by the cover, because it might not look the greatest on the outside, but when Sam's the same way. The Clements were the same way. None of them knew me till we hung out a few times, and then they openly admitted, they thought I was an ass, and until they got to know me. And I'm like, man, but you see me at the racetrack. You guys never seen me anywhere else. And when you get to the racetrack, you know what it's like. It's game on. It's focused. It's do your thing. And maybe that's changed a little bit for me. Maybe I've opened up a little bit at the racetrack, obviously. But in my younger days, I literally was. It was 100% focused. I mean, I let it affect a lot of other parts of my life, including my marriage, that weren't as important as what winning races and winning championships at this level were. So obviously that's a me thing. That's something I had to work on, and obviously try to have a balance of life, whatever, and still be at that level. So yeah, Sam, literally, I thought he was joking when he called, because we joke about a lot of things. We talk quite frequently, and a lot of times, Sam will call, and we won't talk about racing. We won't talk about this. He'll call and ask me about something with business or something with this. And, it's always nice to have those people that you bounce things off of. Just maybe they don't have the answer, but they'll look at it from a different angle. And I'm fortunate to have a lot of people like that in my life. And ultimately, most of them people are involved in racing. So, Sam was really responsible for aligning me with Paul and Kevin. And obviously Paul's one of the greatest to ever do it in his cars. He's done phenomenal things. So it's quite an opportunity for me to be able to race with Paul. And but he's also one of them that's probably judged a lot like I was, or I am. He does not. There's no BS. You get what you see, and so we're gonna do that the next 3 weekends, and we'll see what happens.
Donnie, I know you haven't gotten to work with Paul yet, but you mentioned some phone calls you've had. You did get to work one night with Cody Jacobs. What has the difference been? Obviously, with TSR, you had a similar package. I'm sure it changed and evolved, and I know the motor program, all that good stuff. But what has the difference been in the cars? Like, I'm sure it's a whole different package. Have the cars felt very different to you from what you're used to?
Well, obviously I've run the same race car since 2000.
Hmm.
And people are sit and throw rocks at my cars. I really don't think there's anything wrong with the cars. I was taught long ago, from Kenny Woodruff. He's like, man, when you get on the racetrack, it goes by what you tell me to do and what I do. It's where you start, where you finish. A lot of other things have evolved. Obviously, shocks have evolved and have evolved, but J&J has always been one of, Jack and Bonnie have been the kind of people um, they build you what you want. If
Hmm.
you want that, you want this body on it, or you want the tabs here, and they'll build multiples the same where everything fits from every car. And I think they build a safe product, and I think they build a great car. And like, obviously, I've relied on them forever, and I don't have that ability right now to say, hey, I want this, and I'm obviously have to step into other things, and getting in big games car. Obviously, if it's a different brand. So is Dave Lundstra's. Their cars just seem so much more stuck from the word go. It's like they're really stuck a certain way, but almost too stuck. Where when you get in, I see why guys say a lot of things about dirty air now, because I never had that problem in my car before, but now they're so stuck and so aero dependent that when you do get behind someone or you get around others, it makes racing that much more difficult in a smaller box. So, and them are things you work on. Working with Cody was great. Parked next to him that night, he was obviously focused on David's car, and they went quick time and they won their heat race. We made strides right up till we got to the feature and just never even made a whole lap. So it was great. Cody's said, "Hey, I learned things by the way I communicate. He learned things by what I was saying, and obviously, David was the one that was fun. Him and I probably spent. I don't think I talked to him that much in my entire life versus that night when we were parked side by side working together, just talking about the air conditions and how the motors ran and what to expect. So he's pretty switched on, and it kind of helped a little bit with what they got going on, and just the minor adjustments that go on. So it was pretty fun, and obviously a new opportunity, and a great one as well.
You talk about that communication when you're switching teams like this. What's it been like? Obviously, you talked about Brad, and I know Lanny and all them have been helping you. The communication level between those different cars and between the feel that you're looking for and what you're getting. What has that been like as you go through these different cars?
Well, Brad Alexander, who is ultimately responsible for what was going on the last several nights, him and I have past experience, and we're both a little bit the same way. Like we're on edge. We want to be good, and when we're not, we're probably, don't seem like, yeah, don't talk to us or whatever, pushing. And um, you know, he kind of knows what I'm looking for in a feel, but he's been off and raced with other people since then. So he had somewhat of a baseline to start at, and that's literally what we did. And I just felt so stuck every night. Like I couldn't free up enough to get things to just keep turning. And he could sit there and see it. He'd say, man, I don't know what to do next. It's just like at Houston's on Sunday night. And then obviously the conditions were extreme because of the rain, and that we just couldn't get free enough. Like you could literally hear it in the motor the way we qualified. Like it just was like bogging things down and kind of pumping the left front the whole way around there. And Brad's like, man, we should be spinning out right now, and we're not. So, and that's all you can do is take what you have there, and obviously it's stuck so hard that you just keep doing things. I mean, I've never had the wheel out that far in my life on the right rear, and had so much stagger and so much weight out and so much weight in and so much tie down and all these different things that you can do, that all you can do is take what you adjust. And but the communication part of it is me being able to say what I think, and you have someone else that sees the same thing you think. That's something that I haven't had for all year. So that actually makes racing fun, to be real honest with you. That you can actually, gives you a little bit of a, well, at least they see what I'm feeling.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear you talk about that, how different what you've been driving is compared to what some of these other guys are running right now. Donny, you mentioned carrying your seat out to California. I just can't even think of a Donny Schatz having to worry about carrying his seat or doing, anything of that sort. What has been, I don't know how I want to word this. Is there a part of this that's been exhilarating? Like change is hard, change is not always fun, but change can be really exciting. Like, are there parts of this that now that things are starting to fall into place that you're seeing, like you mentioned, like being able to give feedback to these guys and seeing what other people are running? Has there been some part of this that's actually becoming enjoyable?
Well, it is enjoyable. It has been
Yeah.
enjoyable, but I'm not saying I didn't enjoy myself prior to this. But it
Mhm.
is what it is. It wasn't anything that I signed up for. I guess you can look at the things I've done over my career. I mean, I've not one that's like flavor of the day, and I was taught that by Kenny Woodruff back in 2000. So since then, I've ran those cars. Since then, I've ran Sanders Racing
Mhm.
products. It's just who I am, and I guess what it does to me right now is it makes me feel like maybe loyalty just bit me right in the ass. I don't know. I still don't think that that's that I want to change that mantra, but you have to take this and make the best of it. Obviously, I'm going to get to race with some great people from here on out. I mean, who'd ever thought that I was going to have the opportunity leaving the Knoxville Nationals to race with Cody Jacobs and Brad Alexander and Paul Silva and who knows what's next. So that to me it's like I told my mom the other day. I said, well, I don't think any of us expected to be in this position, but really it's a great opportunity to kind of use it as a pivot point because clearly what was going on before wasn't working. And I guess they felt like it was me, and I know better than that. So it hasn't changed me as a person, how I race, how I attack things, what I do on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what's in front of me. The thing that's hard about it is, and I might have mentioned it earlier, is the timeline of things. I've never looked at anything. Obviously, we look down the road. You have to do that in business. I'd never looked at a timeline in racing,
Mhm.
and with what I got going forward, the people I'm talking to are saying, look, let's look at this at least a 2-year thing to try to build on it because we know we're not going to come out swinging, and we need to build on this, so we need to guarantee 2 years. And I'm like, well, two, I think I got a hell of a lot more. Well, let's just go. If things are good in 2 years, we go three, and it's a timeline thing that I've never really looked at before, but it's reality. I guess
Mhm.
you just looked at it before, it's a confidence thing. I know I'm 48, and when I go to the races some nights, everybody reminds me that act like I'm like 70, and I keep reminding them Steve Kinser raced till he was in his 60s competitively, and I'm nowhere near that, but I'm not as good as Steve Kinser either. So I guess that's a reminder. In fact, the last person to remind me that was my buddy Shane Liebig leaving the track the other night. He said, "Hey, old man, what's going on?" I said, "Yeah, you're only saying that because your driver isn't even old enough to go to the bar for another 3 years." But that's really not fair either. You throw rocks, but it is what it is, and it's just all in good fun. But I am really the elderly of what's there currently.
Donnie, you talk about this timeline. Obviously, you're in this ride for the California swing, and then of course the East Coast is up, and of course me being from Pennsylvania, I have to ask: do you have things lined up for obviously the Nationals? Do you have something that's kind of in the works? I don't expect you to drop any names or car numbers, unless you, of course, you want to. But is there something in the works for the Pennsylvania swing in the last 15 races of the season?
I do actually. The unfortunate part of this whole situation is just this, like, yeah, you have to take it in stages, and ultimately, what the last 2 weeks when this all happened, I was about getting these 7 races in front of my hometown fans and the Midwestern fans to finish this, and then obviously as I was doing that, we lined this stuff up with Paul and Kevin Koslowski at Works, and yes, I have something in place, and it's going to be pretty awesome. But unfortunately, you gotta, try to keep things,
Yeah.
because look what happened to me the first night in the big game card. It changed from one day to the other, and I think you guys reiterated. We had suits made. We had, Taylor wanted a helmet done, and all these things, and obviously those things that they were going to support me the rest of the year with anyway. At shophusitz.com and their branding. So is obviously people helping people. And that I ultimately said it best is I didn't want to displace someone to finish out the year. And I really don't want to do that. And I'm not going to do that. So That's where the problem lies, is trying to do this without displacing someone. And um, you know, what happened with the timeline on the release of driving the works car wasn't exactly supposed to be out on that Monday. It was supposed to be out on yesterday's Monday. So the clickbaiters got in on the let's get it going, and ultimately it doesn't matter whose fault it was. I guess that's just the way the times we live in with these things. Everyone wants to be first, and including me. So yeah, you'll definitely see me there. I'll be there, and I'll be in a position where I have ability to race competitively.
That's awesome. We're very happy to hear that, and hopefully that's something that is even going to go further down the future. Donny, you talked earlier about your family. They've always been a huge part of your career. I'm friends with your sisters on Facebook, and they always have your back and your biggest supporters. I want to talk about your nieces. I saw they ran their first World of Outlaw race. How would you assess how they're doing, and what are their plans for the future?
Well, I've obviously held them back quite a bit on some of this stuff. I mean, they got two different types of cars. They got the dirt late models, and then
Mhm.
they got the sprint cars. And we got a really great guy working on the dirt late models, and I got a really great guy working on the sprint cars. And I feel like they're probably a little bit further ahead in the dirt late model world at the moment, with their performance. And maybe they get a little more of that up here than what they do with racing the sprint cars, because there's not as many 410 races up here as there is the IMC race savers. So and we're trying to go that way towards the open motors, but we finally got to where it was time to let them loose here, and they came to Grand Forks. And it was almost a blessing that they both didn't make the show, because the track was ultimately demanding something they hadn't been on like that. And when you run two of them and it's my stuff, I want to see stuff not get tore up. I want to load it in the trailer on the wheels. And with the way the conditions were, they both did a great job, but didn't make the show. Fargo was a different story. Fargo was pretty. They both, one of them actually qualified halfway decent, and neither of them made it through the heat, but they both got through the B main. And there were some good cars that didn't make it. So proud of them for getting in. Obviously, got to be on the racetrack with them for the first time, and it's baby steps. I think it's things you got to put yourself in those positions that are uncomfortable before you understand how to navigate them. And they got that out of the way. Now it's on to the next thing. And my next goal with them is to get them to Houston on a regular basis with the 410s. And so I think that's a place that will really help them. Obviously, I took them to Knoxville on July 3rd, and they got to make some laps at Knoxville, and they did a pretty fair job. So I got to get them out racing more, but that's really the hard part, is I can't be there. If I could be there with them every night, then I feel like I could probably fast track their success. But anybody that has race cars knows it's hard to run one car, and then when you run two of them, it's pretty incredible, just to keep up with, whether it's tires or whatever, especially out of one rig. So that's where they're at. They're pretty dedicated. This is a path they say they want to go down, but it's still kind of like baby steps for them. And I think they'll tell you that they want to race, but if I'm their uncle and they see what I do day in, day out, they see the success, they see what's happening, they see what happens. Yeah, that's something to shoot for. That's a level that we all strive to be, including I never would have expected it, but the reality is it's going to be a tough road for them in today's environment to get there. So they're going to have to be pretty dedicated, and they are, but it's going to take some time.
It's really cool because as an outsider, just to see what they do and what you guys have built, the level of respect that they have for you as well and what you do in your career and what you're doing for them, I think speaks volumes too. But as a car owner with two cars in the show, but yet you also have to race yourself, was it a different environment for you that evening because you're watching two cars and having to take care of what you have to do on the track?
I got some great guys here working on their stuff. I just don't, I wish we had more. I have a young man that left TSR last year, Dawson Heitrider. He came up here, and he was our tire guy there for the last several years, and very good at keeping things organized and preparing things. But he's green to navigating through what the cars need, what the shocks need, doing motor stuff. It's all new to him, and so he'll call me when he needs something, but he's got to learn with them. There's no magic combination for anybody. It's how you work through it, and that's one of them things Kenny Woodruff taught me years ago. So he works well with them, but he's got to work with two of them, and Zach Axland does too, but he's more he's more switched on the late model side of things. So, they do a great job together. I try to help them as much as I can, but if it was as easy as just telling them what I did or what made, got me success, everyone in this country would have been successful because a lot of people knew exactly what we did and didn't like it. Every person likes something different. Everybody has a different path. So they just got to work through what works for them and what they like. And believe me, they're two completely different animals, those two. So one likes something a little bit more aggressive and one's a little bit more, a little bit more like me, a little bit more, reserved.
Donnie, you talk about them having to be dedicated and how tough our sport is right now. Kind of want to ask you a big picture question about the sport of sprint cars. You've obviously been around the World of Outlaws for a long time. What has changed the most? I mean, obviously there's a lot more money involved. The purses are higher, but the competition level seems greater, not just in equipment wise, but even driving style. It seems like it's kind of cutthroat. Are those the things that you were talking about that your nieces will have to deal with?
Well, I don't, the racing, this has always been, the World of Outlaws has always been the cutting edge of
Mhm.
racing. If you wanted to race for a living and you wanted to earn money to do it, you had to get out on the road and do it. That's where the big paying races were.
Yeah.
And obviously, there is more money, but everything costs more now.
Mhm.
It's not just cars and parts, but like tires are insanely expensive. And it takes more of them each night. There's really no competition on it, but if I'm sitting here speculating 5 years down the road, I'm saying that the engine situation in our sport is going to be incredibly in trouble because it's already super expensive. If you can't get engines, you can't get parts, what they cost. I mean, you got guys having proprietary engine builders or paying them to be proprietary, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's smart of these people that are doing it, but it also puts people in a position where, I ordered motors for these girls last August from Ron Shaver and got them in March of this year or April, whatever it was. Um, and we ended up having to use them in the TSR trailer as backups because we didn't have anything when we switched. So, um, but 5 years down the road, you're not seeing many new engine builders come along like you are, drivers and crew. You're not seeing new car owners come along. So I don't know where it lands. I know that I'm spending as much money myself, racing with these two girls, trying to do something local and regional than what we really did when we first started racing with the World of Outlaws back in '97. So that's kind of an eye opener. Um, but it's just the wave of the future. Everything costs more. So I don't know what the answer is. I guess I wish that I had someone that took care of all that and I didn't have to. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen for someone that's starting out in this sport and coming up. Had I done it that way, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, a 10-time champion. I would have, you know, and I always use Paul McMahon as a reference. I have the ultimate respect for Paul McMahon because he did that and he made a
Mhm.
hell of a career out of it. I mean, we raced together for Rookie of the Year in '97. He had to do it driving for someone that, you know, he had to produce and finish, or
Mhm.
he wouldn't be there the next day. He'd be looking for a
Yeah.
job. So I drove for my dad, and um, you know, I've actually heard the joke. This is the first time I've ever been fired. It's actually not. My dad fired me twice. My mom just rehired me 3 times when we had our own team. So this is not my first firing.
I love it. So I have two questions to pin off of that then. Obviously, no chance of a family car coming back for Donny Schatz, it sounds like.
No, and ultimately it's not because I can't.
Sure.
I've had tremendous support from people that wanted that to happen and still want that to happen. I feel like if I do that, it takes 100% of my resources to put into me, and it cripples both those girls and what they want to do, whether it's at a local level or whatever. It literally does. I don't have the infrastructure here. I mean, I don't have the equipment here to do it, and obviously the resources to do it yeah, we could probably put it together to make it happen for me, but it's gonna just take away from them, and it's gonna just stop their progress in its tracks. And I'm not interested in doing that. I love racing, and I'd love to do it for another 10 years in my mind, or even more. But if I can't do it competitively, ultimately I'm not going to. So, but one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to cripple them. I'll sidestep for them to be able to continue on because look, I've experienced everything there is to experience in this sport, except for winning at Hobstadt. Um, and I've done it multiple times, but that's not, and I dreamt of it and I did it and I loved every second of it and I'm still loving it, but I'm not gonna, not just run off into the sunset and enjoy it to cripple these two girls to be able to continue on and chase their dreams like I did.
Right. And so the second question is I keep hearing World of Outlaws. So with the 2026 and the future beyond, if a team was to come to you and say, we're thinking high limits, is that in play or is that completely off the table as well?
No, it's off the table for me. I've and nothing against them. I have no problem with competition. I think competition is always great. People can sit here and say I'll throw rocks at them. I have my reasons for not agreeing with some of the things they do, and I think there's some things they do that I agree with, and I think are a lot better than what the Outlaws has. But I invested in the World of Outlaws at a young age, as a kid in the stands, as a young aspiring racer. It was my ultimate. It was to me, it was the ultimate, and I put a lifetime into it. And what does it say about me if I just up one day and go, oh, this pays a little more, or this does this different? I'm, looking for something different. I've never been a grass is greener type guy. Does the World of Outlaws have problems? Yeah, they have problems. Everybody has problems. I have problems. You'd never know it, but it's just the way it is. So I think the fan base that I built, ultimately, uh, you know, I'm not interested in questioning that fan base, and that is the one thing that has been, I think, the most disheartening to me this year is, look, we have two series. So be it. Let them drive each other to success instead of like thinking it's a negative thing. But what it has done, and this is what gets me the most, is it has divided the fans. And I don't think anybody, and I don't like this intentionally trying to divide the fans. I think we saw it with David and Kyle at the King's Royal. We've seen it with the me and Tony thing. I've seen it. It's like, man, I hear it at the races every night. I heard it at the nationals. It's like we're all here for the same thing. Like we all have the common thing is we all obviously love dirt track sprint car racing, or we wouldn't be standing in this pit area. But what do we need to have an argument about it for? And I get it. It's passionate. People have their favorites, but um, I hate to see the division. It's not, to me, it's not cool, but it's part of it. I guess you're going to have negativity anytime you have anything good. So it's part of the program.
Very true, and well spoken. Donnie, earlier you said that you feel like your loyalty might have hurt you in the last situation. Well, I think overall in this whole interview, your loyalty is very admirable. We're going to cut you loose here in a minute. We've kept you for a while, but one last question. You're heading down the West Coast, getting to drive with Kevin and Paul. What are you looking forward to? What are the tracks you really like out there?
Well, we go to Vado first here at Royal Jones's track. Between El Paso and Las Cruces, and I've spent a bit of time there racing late models, and we've been there with the World of Outlaws before. Obviously, first class facility in between those two places, and really a great place for me to start off with Paul and Kevin. We've had a few good runs there before, and a little bit of decent finishes. So looking forward to that. Obviously, California is a short stint this time, and it's disappointing, but yet I think it's not from some senses. I think everybody wanted to shorten up the California swing from 6 weeks. Um, it's 2 weekends. It's Bakersfield and Paris, and then it's 2 nights at Tulare. Obviously, I think it all boils down to what's happened with the high limit tracks and outlaw tracks. So short stint. It's a great market. We always love going out there. I think it's great that we go out there. There's a lot of people that say we shouldn't. I'm totally against that. That's why we have sponsors. That's why we have partners. You have to go there. And they have great facilities. Racing's a little bit different at certain places, but I think we get to go to the cream of the crop. Really, Bakersfield's a fun place. Had some good runs there. Obviously, Paris, I think, is one of the few tracks I'm winless at too. So, got a challenge there to try to get past that hurdle. And looking forward to Tulare. Tulare's always a fun place to go, and have won there in the past. So, we were just talking about this the other night at Houston. It's how you look at certain events, and California is one of them places. They said there was guys the other night that didn't want to race, and people were questioning that, and I'm like, well, they're probably looking at it from a standpoint of they tear something up, and there was a few guys tore up. That's just the nature of the beast. It could be anywhere. It's just makes it that much difference when you're going 2,000 miles across the country, but ultimately it's only for 2 weeks. So I guess it's the other night turned out great compared to what it could have been. Mother Nature threw us a curveball, and those guys worked their tails off to get the race in, and they had a great crowd. So hopefully it worked out for them. But really looking forward to the West Coast, and looking forward to working with Paul and Kevin, and obviously I'm gonna have my buddy Lanny with me because Lan's been my backbone through pretty much everything.
He sure has. I remember landing with you years ago. Well, Donnie, we wish you the best of luck on the West Coast. And even when you come back to the East, whatever future endeavors you have, we look forward to those announcements. But thank you so much for coming on with us today. We appreciate your honesty, your candor, and just openly discussing everything with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Erin. Ashley, you'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. That was Donny Schatz joining us for a very insightful interview. Stay with us. More Wing Nation in just a minute.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi. Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back. This is Wing Nation. Wonderful interview with Donny Schatz. Ashley, I just loved how open and honest and candid, and I don't even know. It was neat to see Donny for everything he's been through in the last few weeks. He seemed positive and appreciative of all the people that are supporting him and calling him. I really enjoyed that.
He was very chill for all the things that he's going through right now. And I know he's fielding a ton of phone calls. Like, he was just chill. It was like he was in a good place. It was really cool to see that side of Donny.
It really was. And we do wish him luck on the West Coast. And speaking of the West Coast, Calistoga is back. The Louisville Mill Classic this weekend. Great to see that track back on the calendar. We talked about it on last week's show. Just an iconic racetrack and a wonderful part of the country. And James McFadden swept the weekend.
Yes, awesome. Just that whole story is incredible. I'm glad to see a racetrack come back. Always, always good stuff. And then Kubota High Limit was off at Skagit, and Rico Abreu sweeps the weekend just like James, but he had a $156,000 payday, and I do believe that puts him to this top of the High Limit leaderboard point standings for the first time ever.
Yeah, they've got an interesting points battle going on. I know there's been some injuries and some shifts, but pretty interesting. I love the picture of Rico with the broom. I thought that was really neat. I don't know if you saw it in Victory Lane. But speaking of winning, someone had a big pie contest that they won. What was this? It's a different flavor. You switched it up.
Well, I always will stay true to my apple pie, which I've won a million times, but they did a cherry pie this year for the 250th celebration of America. So we won that, and then my mom entered a pie and she won that. So we won Best of Show in a couple of pies this week.
That's awesome. Well, you got it's big time going on right now in Port Royal Speedway. You got the fair and a big race coming up this weekend.
Yes, it is Tuscarora 50. It's going to kick off with the Kubota High Limit Series Thursday night with just a regular show. And then, of course, Friday night is the night before the 50. And then Saturday, the elusive Tusky 50 that everybody loves to come to town for. $58,000 to win. And speaking of Rico Abreu, he's the defending winner. So we'll see if he will be able to top that again this year. And then, of course, if you're coming to town, it's the best time of the week to come to town because you can eat all the fair food and you must check out the Port Royal Lutheran Church stand.
Spoken like a true local. Also this weekend, World of Outlaw, NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars. They're in Vado, New Mexico, as Donnie mentioned, as they kind of start off their West Coast swing.
Yes, Vado and then into New Mexico, and then where did they end up? Tulare, I believe. So solid 3 weeks of racing out on the West Coast.
Yep, IRA bumper to bumper, Cedar Lake for the Jerry Reichert Memorial. This one is close to my heart. Amy Tatnall, Brooks' wife. This was her dad memory. And this year they have raised the purse. They put a ton of money into it. Really excited and happy for them. And I hope they have a super successful weekend with that one.
I always loved Cedar Lake. It's probably one of my favorite racetracks in the country. But I didn't realize that was her dad.
Yes, absolutely. Jerry Reichert was her dad, big family that she's from, and they all put a lot of time, energy, and love into that race. And lastly, National Sprint Car Hall of Fame birthday calendar. Yesterday would have been Alan Kreitzer's birthday. Tuesday, Jim Colbert, Richard Huffman. Tomorrow, Harold Lempe Lewis. I'm not sure how to say that. Roger Rager. Thursday, Dave Darland, Bobby Grimm, Jackie Holmes. Friday, Willie Davis, Brent Kading's birthday. Saturday, Burt Emick, and Sunday, Earl Hallequist. That is a busy birthday week on the Hall of Fame calendar.
So true. And be sure, I think they're still giving away the car, right?
Yeah, that's still going on. Yep. And just go to sprintcarhof.com for all the information, and membership's only $25. So that about wraps it up. Are you all ready for the big weekend?
I am. It's going to be interesting. We are definitely in fall here. It's, 40 when you wake up in the morning and then 85 by lunch. So if you are coming this way this week, be sure to pack for all 4 seasons. But it's a week that we all locals look forward to, especially this weekend with the Tuscarora 50. It's huge. And of course, the place is going to be packed, and I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, we hope you have a blast this weekend and enjoy, and send us lots of pictures of the fair food. I know Steve will want that. But thank you very much for today's show. And thank you to Donny Schatz. And of course, for all of you listening, it was wonderful to catch up and have that interview with Donny, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
All right. Thank you very much all for tuning in to Wing Nation.